The engine compartment is finished on this 1984 300 TD. Look how beautiful that is. Guys, all the cars that you see in these videos are for sale on my website, www.woodsandbarclay.com. Enjoy the video. Hey everyone, welcome back to the video series on the 1984 300 TD. Today we're going to re-zinc plate the engine compartment. Actually, before I do that, if you saw in the last video where I was doing the upper control arms on the suspension, there was a lot of dirt under there on the suspension. And normally I wait to send it to Scott when he does the detailing of the vehicle. But guys, it's driving me crazy. So I'm gonna go ahead and just back it out of the shop and clean all the wheel wells and get that dirt out of there. So let's go ahead and do that first, and then we'll get to the engine compartment. Guys, we're just gonna hit everything under here with some degreaser and then get under here with a pressure washer and clean this all up. All right, I've got everything soaking with some degreaser. That's gonna cut through all that dirt and grime in here, and then we're gonna hit that with the pressure washer and get that cleaned up really nice. Guys, look at that. All the factory paint markings came back, and all that dirt and grime is now off there. We have the original paint up underneath there. Yeah, that looks absolutely awesome now. That was just covered in 40 years of dirt and grime in there. Look how nice that looks now. Guys, here we are at the rear fender well on the driver's side. I just want to show you, this is the before. See all the dirt and road grime just caked all in there? Let me clean that and then show it to you afterwards. Guys, look at that. That's all the original paint. Now, what you see here, that's the factory overspray from where they would paint, Mercedes would paint these rockers, and they would come around here and they would spray right up in there like that. Still has that factory original overspray. Same back here. There's some of the overspray left over right there. And yeah, look at that. Original paint under here. Just needed to be cleaned up. Absolutely beautiful. Also, got the exhaust back here. Oh, that looks very, very nice now. So I got to put this wheel on and go around the rest of the car, do every wheel well. So let me do that. Then I'm going to pull the car back in the garage, and we're going to start on the zinc plating in the engine compartment. All right, guys, now that we got that out of the way, I had to clean those wheel wells. It was driving me crazy. Now that we got that out of the way, it's time to start disassembly of all the parts on the engine and put in the new zinc plated components. So let's go ahead and get started. Guys, as you can see, this is a highly original wagon, and there is still zinc plating on parts in here. But this is what these injector lines looked like when they left the factory. There you go. Look at the difference. See, the zinc is just faded on here. So let's go ahead and start disassembling all these components. And I'm going to start with all the top end throttle linkage. Guys, you've seen this in tons of my videos. So I may just do this in fast forward time lapse. And you guys will just see once I get it all off. All right, now for the ones down here that are connected to the injection pump, I use a crow's foot to get in there. Let me show you what that looks like. Okay, there you go, guys. That's 11/16, yeah, or 17 millimeter, and that's a crow's foot line wrench. So you can get down on top of something and undo it. Here, guys, this is what I'm doing. See how I get down there with that crow's foot, and I can get around there, and then I can break them loose. And that crow's foot allows you to get easy access around there like that. All right, there we go. Okay, guys, I just want to show you the difference. So, see, you still have some zinc plating on these original injector lines. That's a good representation of how this car was treated. It never saw really a harsh environment. But you can see that is what they looked like when they were brand new. So just wanted to show you guys. Sometimes this is completely off. Like, for example, here's a set that I'm sending off. You can see there is no more zinc plating on these sets. And what the zinc plating is a corrosion inhibitor. So the zinc coating, the idea was that instead of rusting and corroding, the zinc would wear off and protect the underlying part. So the underlying part wouldn't corrode. And that's why Mercedes zinc plated these. And you can see it's really served its purpose on this original set. But let's go ahead and throw this nice new set on there once we're done disassembling. Okay, guys, now I'm going to move over here to the power steering pump. And you can see on the 84 model, the cap was not zinc plated. It was just a, I think that's stamped steel. Yeah, that's probably stamped steel is what that cap is made out of. But we need to go ahead and remove the power steering fluid because we're going to pop off our power steering lines. Okay, what you guys didn't see earlier is I had the car up in the air and I went ahead and disconnected the lines or broke the lines loose that are actually connected to the power steering box. So now I can just get in here by hand and finish undoing them. That one's still a little tight. There's our line. I've already disconnected one line and it's draining into a catch can underneath here. And the other line is right there. We just need to go ahead and get that line off because we're replacing all this. There we go. There's a good view. There we go. So our 19 millimeter. And I use a line wrench, guys. See, line wrenches go all the way around except for a little slit, and they give you the most grip so you don't mess up your lines. You don't strip them off. All right, there we go. That one is loose. All right, now let's just go ahead and take this line out of here. And here's where we use our 17 millimeter. And see how I have a swivel tip on this? That's so I can come in by the side right there and get a little angle on the wrench, and that gives me some leverage. Damn, that one's on there tight. There we go. Got that one loose. All right. And we'll get our high pressure line out of the car. There we go. I want to remove the main vacuum supply line and our cruise control module. All right, so these are, I think, some 10mm bolts to undo that. All right, I like to put the bolts back in here so I don't lose them. And then we'll take off this cruise control mounting base right here. All right, now the cruise control line is a reusable zip tie. There's the power line or the main control line. So we can take that zip tie off right here. We're definitely going to reuse that. And there's one more right here, this main harness. All the lines go through that zip tie there. And then we can disconnect the cruise control main connection right there. There we go. We'll just unplug it. Okay, excellent. Okay, now we need to get this vacuum, main vacuum supply line out right here. And there is a Allen bolt right there, but also on the front of the engine, you can barely see it right there. We need to get that nut loose. Now on the wagons, it's a little tougher because see, we have our high pressure hydraulic pump for the wagon rear suspension. That's in the way and you have to kind of snake down in there. But on the 300Ds or non-wagons, it's easier to get access to that. So let's get these things off here. First, we will break our line loose here. That's a 19mm and that's a 17mm. And lefty loosey. There we go. We'll unscrew our main vacuum supply line. All right, and we can just let that hang right there. There we go. And there's also a little washer that sits underneath there. There it is right there. Okay, now these are 13mm. I'm going to remove this base right here. And the little washers. Now, I never replate these two bolts because they're underneath the cruise control and you will never see them again. So, I never send those off to be replating because it's just to be replated because it doesn't make any sense. And we'll just stick these right back in here. All right, there we go. Now we need to get access to the front of this line that we just loosened here and get that undone. All right, guys, and sometimes there's just enough room. You can see here, this is, I think it's a 19mm or 3/4 inch crow's foot. We can get in there just enough to break it loose. Let me see the best angle here. There we go. We can break it loose just like that. All right, here we go. All right, guys, once it's loose, it is very easy. It is very easy to remove. There we go, guys. Now, since that's so tricky to get off and I'm already into it right now, I'm going to go ahead and that's the first new piece I'm going to reinstall. I'm going to go ahead and put on our new one. Now, I'm going to put in our bolt right there and then I'm going to tighten her back up. All right, now I'll snug it up. There we go. Perfect. All right, there we go. Our first piece has been installed. I'm going to take a lunch break, come back and remove the valve cover and clean that up in the parts washer. And we'll do a quick check to see if it needs a valve adjustment. And we're also going to take this to the parts washer and clean it up. All right, let's go ahead and get this valve cover off. valve cover gasket, we're going to throw a new valve cover gasket on it. Oh, very nice. This is definitely a low mileage 617. We'll go ahead and dig in here. You know, here's your timing chain. There's your guides, and you can see there's no slack at all on that timing chain. I cannot move it at all. And you can see, look at the cam lobes here. See how clean, let me get this vacuum line out of the way. See how clean that cam lobe is? No scoring, no marking on these cam lobes. They look really, really great. That means that the oil was changed regularly on this vehicle. You can still see the factory paint markings on the valve springs. That's pretty cool. This is what a really, really healthy 85,000 mile wagon engine looks like, you guys. Super clean down in there. But let's go over here to the parts washer and let's clean up our valve cover. You know, get some of this gunk off of here. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I got a new parts washer. Well, 1960s new. This is the same exact model that I had, the Gray Mills 300A, the Clean-O-Matic. But my other motor finally blew up, so I found this on Craigslist. And guys, you can see it's old. This is a classic car parts washer. But guys, these are made in America and they are outstanding. They are incredible parts washers. If you buy one of these new, it's about $3,000 to $4,000. But you find them on Craigslist or eBay or whatever back from the 1960s. You can see there's the 300-A from the 1960s. And there we go, guys. We are washing parts. And I have no more leak over here. So that's fantastic. I went ahead and I got a Wix filter in here. And I just hooked up my external filter out here and ran some lines, and I got about 20 gallons of solvent down in here. Look how clean it is. But anyway, really excited about this parts washer. This is probably the most useful tool that I have in the shop. I've had entire engine blocks down in here. I'll show you why. I'm gonna stick these valve covers down in here, and we can really dig in and clean this guy up. We'll take our oil cap off here. And I'll just use some steel wool to remove some of this staining up here. There we go, guys. Look how much cleaner that is compared to when we had it on the car. Now, a lot of people will polish these. I do not polish them because that's not what they looked like from the factory. So I'm not going to polish it. We're just going to clean it up. So it looks very nice. Got some staining off the top right there. And let's go ahead and check our valves and then get this back on the car. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and check some of the valves to see if we need to do a valve adjustment. And you can actually see on the core support right here, there's a sticker that tells you, I know you can't read it, but it tells you if your water temperature is below 30 degrees Celsius, meaning a cold engine, your intake is 0.10 millimeters, your exhaust is 0.35 millimeters. So we're going to go ahead, and I have my little exhaust and intake map here so I can mark when I'm done with one of the valves. So I'm going to go ahead and count back. I can see that valve number 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is already in place to be measured, and that's an intake valve. So that would be a 0.10 millimeter. Oh yeah, that's perfect amount of lash. So no adjustment needs to be made. And guys, if you want to see how to do a valve adjustment, just search YouTube for like 300D valve adjustment, I have some very, very detailed videos that'll come up to show you how to do this. So anyway, let me go rotate the crank, and I need to check a couple more of these, and if we need to do a valve adjustment, I'm going to let you know. Otherwise, we're going to move on. All right, I just rotated the crank to get to an exhaust valve like number 5 here. And guys, this is It's very clear that a valve adjustment was done on this car in the last couple thousand miles. I mean, that is the perfect valve lash. So I'm going to go ahead and check a couple more, but I'm pretty sure we don't need to do any adjustments. Okay, I've rotated it over. I'm going to check this very back one. Yep, perfect valve lash. All right, guys, this engine has already had a valve adjustment. Don't need to make any adjustments on here. So let's go ahead and get our fresh valve cover on and get our fresh valve cover gasket and put our valve cover back on. Okay, it's really easy to put these on when your cruise control is not in the way, and we actually have that removed right now. All right, so when you put it on, guys, it's crucial that you check around to make sure your new gasket has not rolled over or pinched, because you'll get awful oil leaks. Okay, good. Look at that, big difference. So let's go ahead and we'll screw these back down, put the nuts back on here, and then let's start reassembly of our zinc dichromate plated parts. Now, normally, guys, at this stage, I also install some new injector return hoses, and it is very clear that those are fresh and they're genuine Mercedes, and they've already been replaced on here. So there's no reason to change these injector return lines. Those are that's the good stuff. All right, let's clip our return line in right there. Clip our glow plug harness into the clip. This still has all the factory original clips on it, which is fantastic. And I like to tighten these down in a cross hatch or a cross pattern. All right, guys, next I want to go ahead and install our injector lines. Now, I've learned from doing this enough times, you want to go ahead and loosen these little retaining brackets that holds the lines together. You don't want to take them off. You just want to loosen them a little bit, and you can do that by putting an 8mm wrench on the back side here and just give it like one turn. That's it. You don't need to take them off, and that allows you to put them on and get them all adjusted correctly much easier. And then you can tighten it back up. You can tighten it back up once everything's installed on the car. There we go. Okay, one piece we haven't removed yet is this line to the injector right here. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that guy off. And I'm going to find the correct length rod from my set of zinc plated rods. Okay, guys, so here's the original rod that came off the car, the injection pump throttle linkage. And we're just going to put that right in here. And right next to it, there we go. I'm just loosening this linkage here because I want to make it the same length as this linkage. You do that by just loosening the lock nut here, and then you turn your linkage in. Perfect. That is the exact same length. Okay, the first piece we're going to attach here is our throttle linkage that goes down to the injection pump. Because once you get your injector lines on, it's very difficult to get this attached. And the way I like to get that in there, I'll put it on there, and I'll stick a small pry bar against the engine block. There we go. We have that line on there. Good. Is all our injector lines. Now see, since I loosen them up, since I loosen these little brackets, it's going to be very easy to get them all lined up with each injector because I have some wiggle room. But if you don't loosen those brackets, sometimes it's a little tough. Now, if you pulled your lines off of your car, well, they're already adjusted exactly for your car, and you're not going to need to loosen those brackets. But these lines are in my inventory, and I don't know what car they came off of. It's one of the other turbo diesels I had here in the shop. So these have to be slightly adjusted in order to fit on this car. All right. Get all these top ones started here. See how easy I'm getting them all started? All right, cool. I've got all the top lines started. Now I'm just gonna go down here by hand and start all these bottom lines. There you go, guys. I'm just tightening these all up by hand right here. Getting them all started. Okay, I got every one of them started. Now I can go back. Remember the crow's foot I used? I'll go back and get them all torqued down. And it's not much torque, guys. It's basically just snug. And you'll know if you didn't tighten them down enough when you go to start your car. You'll see them leaking. All right, now once I tighten them down, then I'm going to go back and retighten our retaining brackets. Okay, I loosely have the cruise control just set right up here. And I'm just finishing up torquing down the injector lines. All right. Got all the injectors tight. And guys, when we crank up the car, we will see if it leaks anywhere, and we can just go snug one of them up. Now, this original car had the original clips on here. Go ahead and get these back on here, which is pretty awesome. Those are the clips that hold this this line in place. Pretty awesome that those are actually still intact. So I just transferred them over here. There we go. Now let's tighten up our the little injector clamps that hold all the brackets together. And this one, this line right here, actually we need to pull that vacuum line off because this actually comes up here and clips into that retaining bracket, and the vacuum line plugs in there. And then this line clamps into there. There we go. Guys, that's about as factory original as it gets right there. See, you have these factory original clips here, 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 and here that hold all these lines together. Usually they're broken. It's pretty amazing they're all together on this car. All right, let me just put our cruise control mounting bolts in here. See, I got the new cover on our cruise control. Doesn't that look nice? This is where it starts to really look good. And we're just going to get a couple of these bolts loosely started here. And keep in mind, this is an aluminum housing, guys. Aluminum valve cover. You do not want to torque these down and strip out your valve cover. It's like, 8 Newton meters. It's not much. Maybe 10 foot-pounds. Okay, back here to our original linkage. Here's the pieces that I just screwed on. I put this mounting plate right here, and I put the cruise control plate right here. That's what I just put on the car. Now, there's some things off here that we want. We want some of these E-clips. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and we want this little throttle bushing, this little nylon bushing right here. We'll transfer that over. So, we'll go ahead and start disassembling some of that. There's the small E-clip for that. There's the E-clip for that. There's the E-clip for that. And there's our throttle linkage and another E-clip there. And that's the cotter pin that holds the throttle in the back against the firewall. So, take this off now. Here we go. Just set that there. There's another E-clip right under here. Okay, now I want to take this cover off, and we want to take our 3-2 valve. I think this car has a 3-2 valve under there. We're going to see. Okay, good. We want this 3-2 valve, so we're going to transfer this over to the plate that's on the car. Allen out of here. There we go. This just slips out of here. Now, one thing I want to replace, this is this controls your EGR, exhaust gas recirculation, depending on what throttle speed you're at. See, basically, this throttle turns, and you see you have a bump right there. Okay, as this throttle turns, you see there's a little raised part right there and a raised part there. So when that turns, it'll hit these little levers right here. And you can see that's a common problem. See, the ends of the levers have worn off. And so when that throttle turns, it presses the lever, but the lever does not actually actuate the little rod that opens the valve and lets vacuum flow through. So that means the EGR won't work correctly. So all we have to do to fix that is we pull out this little pin right here, and we can just replace these levers. I have some of these over on the bench. So we'll go ahead and do that now. Okay guys, here's the part number for one of the replacement levers. Let's see, Mercedes still sells these. 123-304-0220. And let's go ahead and take out this little lever. And I'm going to have to order another one. I can go pick one at RBM of Atlanta. There you go. See how that lever is full length? And that lever right there is worn off. Hopefully you guys can see that. There you go. So to replace that, all we do, we got to take out this little pin here. This is like a, what do they call it? Roll pin. Can't remember what they call these things. We'll just work that guy out. We will take out our screw here and remove our spacer. The spacer keeps the plastic from breaking when you tighten it back down into the car. There we go. Take out our little spacer right there. All right, see? The little lever can come out once we get this pin out. And we actually have to take the pin all the way out to replace both levers. So just keep wiggling it here. There we go. Almost. There we go. Now let's go ahead and put back in, take off my gloves here. All right, put this lever back in there. We'll push our pin back through. There we go. Okay. See, now we have a complete lever there. And there we go. Pushed it a little bit too far. Okay, there we go. Now, let me get the other lever. Okay, I'm going to just leave this on the bench. We're going to come back to this because I need to order another one. I'm just going to order a handful of them so I'll have them in stock. So we'll just leave all this here and let's go back to the car and continue with our assembly. Okay, I went ahead and just torqued those down and all the injectors are tight. The cruise control is on. I'm going to go ahead and route the cruise control line now. We had our original. This goes over here. And this original zip tie goes right here. And actually, there we go. And then this goes around and down here. And you guys can barely see that right there, but there's another zip tie. This goes through there and goes into that zip tie there, factory zip tie. All right. And then our cruise control comes right there. They just give you enough to follow that exact path. And that mounts right there. And I still need to take this aftermarket alarm system out of there. Okay, we made some good progress today. Starting to look very nice. And we still have quite a few things to install. But I'm going to go ahead and come back tomorrow because I was able to find at the local warehouse several of the little levers. And I grabbed a handful of them so I can finish that in the morning and get back at it. Okay, here we are a couple of days later. I had to pick up another one of the levers from the warehouse yesterday. Genuine Mercedes. Okay, where were we? All we need to do, stick that part in right there. Push our shaft back in there. You want to leave a little bit sticking out of the bottom. Now I'll show you guys why. There we go. You want to leave a little sticking out of the bottom, and that's because that mounts into the base plate and basically centers everything. So you'll have a bolt here, and then that goes into the base plate, and that keeps it from rotating. So let's put our spacer back in here. There we go. And we'll stick our bolt through here. Okay, there we go. Let's go mount this back on our base plate. Okay, I've also inspected all of our rubber hoses here, and they are in outstanding condition. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever to replace any of these. See, these are covered with a plastic plate, so they're never exposed. These are perfect condition. No reason to change any of those. And there's our levers. See, now our levers can actuate those correctly. So let's get this back on the car. So we have a hole there, and then there's our screw hole, our bolt hole. So you just put the little pin right there, and then that slides into there. And let's screw in. There we go. And there you go. That is reinstalled with the levers fixed. Okay, here's all the linkage that's been replated, and what all these parts are all these parts right here. Here's all the originals. So we do want to take this, there we go. We want this little nylon bushing right here. And guys, these things really, I've never seen one wear out. It's just a piece of nylon. There we go. It's just a little nylon bushing. So we do want this piece. And that slips right onto our new one, onto our post right there. And then we have our small E-clip to hold that on there. There we go. And Mercedes actually says do not lubricate that piece. They say that in their service manual. There we go. So we got our little bushing on there. Now, the next thing we want to get is our return spring. So, let me get my pick. We're going to first unclip it from the bottom. There we go. There we go. See how the return spring clips around that base right there? So let's go ahead and get that out of there. All right. And then there you go. We can pull that piece off. Now, what I want is the return spring, which is right there. So you can see the top top part of the spring has a long arm and the bottom piece has a short arm. Remember that orientation. And here's our new piece. And that return spring actually goes on there right like that. Now, here's those little, see the little bump here and the bump right there? That's what, when this turns, that actuates those little levers that we just replaced. So let's go ahead and get these installed on the car. Okay, we're gonna start installing some pieces. Now, you see I have a little syringe with transmission fluid in it. That's what I use to lubricate everything. I don't use grease because grease picks up the oil and dirt very easily and gets it all gummy and gross. Transmission fluid always works better. I've been using that for, God, 15 years on these cars. Okay, this one here is a little tricky because we have to get our return spring connected to the base plate. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and undo my 3-2 valve just so I don't break the levers when I'm installing this. Okay, there we go. Now we want to slip it right over. There we go. All right. That's exactly how it should be. Now let's put our cotter, our E-clip here and our E-clip here. We'll just slide that one on there. There we go. And we'll slide this one on here. All right, see our return spring is now correctly in there. And our little nylon bushing, see how it rides in the little channel here. Now the next piece we want to put on is our Bowden cable lever. And notice there's an E-clip I'll put underneath there, right there. Now we put our Bowden cable lever on right there. And we'll put another E-clip on the top. There we go. Now it's important when you install this Bowden cable lever, you see this tab right here? You want your lever on that side of the tab. So when your throttle actuates, it actually pulls that lever. If you install it on the other side of the tab, the throttle will actuate and that lever won't move and it will not pull your Bowden cable. All right, this is our cruise control linkage right here. Put a little transmission fluid on there. There we go. And we need an E-clip on top of that. Now I can go ahead and install this piece here. Okay, you see right here are the levers we replaced. Now when you hit your throttle, the bottom one will actuate first. See that? And then when this bump right here comes along, the top one actuates. So bottom one, top one. And that opens up the 3-2 valves. And let's see, one of those goes over to the EGR, and then the other one goes back here to your VCV valve, which is related to your transmission, where it runs along down here. So a lot's going on right there. You got EGR, and I'm sure it does some sort of help or function with transmission shifting. Okay, speaking of that, let's go ahead and connect our lines back in here. Okay, and then it just slips right on like that. Now we want to put our protective cover on here, but first I want to lubricate, put a little lubrication on these levers right here. And from the factory, Mercedes used like a white lithium grease, so I just squirt a little dab right there. And that's good. That's all you need, guys. Let's put back on our protective cover. Now this just goes, clips around. Right around there like that. Slips on and lines up right there. And we will tighten our one little screw in place. That's the retaining screw. Perfect. Look how smooth that is now. Goes right here. And to this top one, the one that was a little shorter, okay, the one that was a little shorter was the one that actually ran over here to the cruise control. Here we go. Now this one actually attaches to the cruise control lever. Perfect. Awesome. That return spring's working good. Okay, then we have this one back here. So I can get that one on here. Okay, then we're gonna put, you see there's one right here. Lubricate that. And here's our injection pump linkage right here. So now let's install the main throttle linkage that connects to the firewall. And I've already inspected this firewall bushing back here. That's in excellent shape. It's not loose at all. That bushing is excellent behind there. We're going to slip this down underneath. Right back in here. Now I'm going to lubricate this one a little bit. Slip it through there. There we go. And then the back of it, we'll put a little lubrication on that, and this slips into our firewall bushing. Perfect. Now I also have more stop stickers. You can actually order those from Mercedes still. So I'm going to replace our stop sticker because this one is worn just a little bit. Okay, now we have our linkage right here, which goes to the injection pump. And we will lubricate that a little bit. And then clip that on here. Okay, then we have the last two. We want to lubricate these ones up top. Get those connected. All right, now we need to put an E-clip here, a retaining clip here, and our cotter pin back here. Okay, there we go. See, the cotter pin goes through that little hole right there, and it keeps that from sliding out. And then we have our E-clip here and our retaining clip right there. Okay, look at that. Our beautiful throttle linkage is all installed. Look how smooth and quick that returns. Perfectly lubricated. Oops, we got one more thing. We want to put our Bowden cable through there and attach it to our Bowden cable, and I'll show you how to adjust that cable. Okay guys, once the Bowden cable is connected, let me show you how to adjust it. So you see our lever in our stop right there. You want this to have like a millimeter of play, just where it's barely not touching. And the way you do that, you adjust this cable and watch. So I'm gonna, let's see, I'm gonna go counterclockwise. See how it's pulling that cable in tighter? Right about there. It's barely about to touch. See that? We can go a little tighter. There we go. It's about to touch. That's where you want it adjusted. That's a good starting point. And then that way when you pull your throttle, it immediately engages. However, when you're not under throttle, there's no tension on it whatsoever. You have that little like millimeter gap. All right, guys, so there we go. That is all reinstalled and working perfectly, and it is beautiful. Now what I want to do is come over here, and while we don't have our power steering lines installed yet, which we're going to do, there they are right there, all the zinc plated parts. First, when there's plenty of room, I'm going to go ahead and remove this old original primer pump and put in a more modern primer pump because these are prone to leaking. So let's go ahead and get this out of here. All right, there's really no elegant way to remove these, but this is how you do it. You get some vice grips and got to get it clamped onto the side there. There we go, like that. There we go. Got it loose. Now you want to be careful. You don't want to hit your rubber, your plastic line here for your injection pump because that's right next to it. But once you do that, then you can easily just screw it out by hand. Now there's a crush washer under here. I think you can see it. That little copper crush washer right there. You also want to get that out of there. Let me get my pick. Got to get that out of there because we're replacing that. That's what allows it to seal. There we go. And here's why I changed these guys. There is a rubber little gasket right there. See, these unscrew. There you go. And then you can pump them like that. But see that little gasket? That thing leaks. There you go. That one's already got a little crack in it. And then they'll never seal right, and you'll always have fuel leaks there. So we replaced that with the modern version. So you can see how this one works. You don't have to unscrew anything. You just pump it. And they come, there's a little protective cap. It comes with our crush washer already installed there. So again, we're going to have to use the crow's foot tool. You've seen that a couple of times to install this. So first we'll just go down here, make sure you don't drop your crush washer. Set it straight in there. All right, we just got it started. All right, now this one's a little different. This one's not a line wrench. This is just an open end. It doesn't go all the way around. But that's a 17 millimeter or 11/16. And we'll just get it on there. All right, let's get that tight. Here we go. There we go. That's tight. And now you won't have any leaks from there. Now there's our pump. That's how it works. I don't know if you guys can see that, but you can see the fuel moving through the fuel lines when I pump that. Okay, next thing we want to do is install our high pressure and low pressure power steering lines. This is the return line. This is the pressurized line. And I know you guys can't see this. I'm just screwing on, that's a 17 millimeter fitting that I'm just screwing onto the actual steering box. All right, there we go. We're going to come over the top of our vacuum line for that one. Now, sometimes these are tricky to install. Let me just get my wrench and see if I have luck. Oh my God, I got so lucky on that one. Guys, sometimes that literally takes me 20 minutes to get that thread to start. Oh, that is so nice. So we'll tighten this down. Now, what you want to pay attention to when you're installing these, you don't want your lines to be rubbing against anything. All right, guys, this is kind of something you learn when building race cars, is you never want anything to rub. Because if there's rubbing, you're going to wear a hole in it and it's going to start leaking. Definitely don't want that happening on track on a race car. So when you're putting together, same applies on a street car. So right here you can see you don't want it rubbing the vacuum line. And down here, we don't want it rubbing against the frame. So you want to get this hose right where it's not touching anything and then tighten it down. And then we're going to go to our next hose. There we go. Got it. Now let's get our hose attached. There we go. You don't want it touching the AC manifold. You don't want it touching the vacuum line. Same goes for the top line. That's exactly how you want to run your lines. Now I just got to snug everything up down here. And we'll be done with that. All right, guys, I got to refill this with some power steering fluid. Actually, you want to use, let's see, Dexron 3 Mercon. Dexron 3. This is the stuff you use. And we're going to have to bleed the air out of the system by turning the wheels back and forth, lock to lock. But we'll go ahead and get it in there just so we don't accidentally dry start it later. All right, guys, the next thing we want to do is remove our radiator retaining clips. All right. And there is what it looks like with our new zinc plated clip. There we go. So let's just get the rest of these out of here. These are the fan shroud clips. There we go. Very nice. And there we go, guys. Now, I'm going to go back. See, there's over the years, there's a couple little dings and marks on here. I'll go back with some touch-up paint on that. But we have our retaining clips in here. There we go. And we also have our little screws, sheet metal screws that I had plated to put in right there. Okay, guys, we're down to the final pieces that have been re-zinc plated. And these are the actual clips that go along the side of the air cleaner housing. Now, these clips, all they do is pop right out of there. Just like that. And you can pop on the replacement clip. You just stick one side in there. There you go. And then it snaps right back in there. So let me go ahead and install these all around the air cleaner housing. Okay, there we go. This completes our zinc plating. So let me go ahead and get this all reinstalled on the car, and let me wipe off all my greasy fingerprints from the engine, and then I'll show you what the final product looks like. Okay, got the air cleaner housing reattached. Just need to tighten it down a little bit. A new air filter, so stick that guy in there. The engine compartment is finished on this 1984 300 TD. Look how beautiful that is. I removed the alarm system that was over here. Absolutely beautiful. All the zinc dichromate plating is back in place just like it should be. Guys, that was like 3 days of work. Got the little levers replaced. Got the primer pump on here. There's the new primer pump. It looks absolutely beautiful. That's how they looked from the factory. All the little clips and brackets and bolts. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's about an hour long, I know, but that was like 3 days of work compressed into 1 hour. And anyway, it looks fantastic now. So hope you enjoyed the video, you guys. Stay tuned for the next video on this wagon. It'll be done probably in about 3 weeks, and we will see you guys next time. Take care.